Hello, thanks for tuning in. I just love it when Christians, cocksure Christians, call in parading false equivocations and fallacies one after the other. We've got one here. We've got Gabriel calling in, and he's doing a false equivocation on faith and confidence. That faith in the existence of God is in some way equivalent to our faith that the sun is going to rise tomorrow. So let's see how Matt deals with this and see how the call unfolds. Let's go.
And that I want to believe things for good reason. Outside of pragmatic things like accepting that I share a reality with you, something I can't demonstrate or falsify um, because of solipsism, what do you think is something
hmm
that I take on faith that is the same type of faith that a religious person would take their belief in God on?
I'm not sure what you individually would take. Like, I definitely like that distinction that there's faith in pragmatic things. Like, it's not certain, for example, that the sun's going to rise tomorrow, but we
Oh,
all
no, no,
kind
no,
of
no, 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 no,
operate
no.
with the
That's
idea.
no, no, no. Sorry. That is not what I was talking about at all. The sun is going to rise tomorrow. I have that on now. I don't think that you can be absolutely certain about anything, but I have that
Right.
on
Yeah.
my position on the sun rising is that every single bit of evidence related to the sun rising confirms that, barring some absolute catastrophe, which we have no reason to presume is going to happen, the earth is going to continue to revolve and the sun will still appear to arise tomorrow. That's not
Sure.
that's not a position that is based on faith. That is a confidence that is directly proportioned to the available evidence. Faith does not proportion anything to the evidence. I have very good reason to believe that the sun will rise tomorrow.
Well, I suppose that William Lane Craig would say to that his confidence in the resurrection is supported by very strong evidence, and I've heard him actually say that and say that the resurrection is one of the most strongly evidenced events in history. He's actually made that statement. So he would say that his confidence in the resurrection is indeed equivalent to Matt's confidence that the sun is going to rise tomorrow.
I have mountains of evidence for it. That is not a faith-based position.
Well, I'd want to counter that because I do think that first, as you said, no one's fully certain about anything, and fully per se, fully knowing that with 100% certitude. It's just like in statistics and like in scientific measurement, the notion of p-value. Um, you're trying. There's a certain margin for error that you can operate with, but it can't be greater. I think it's like then 0.05 or whatever it is, or 0.5%. It's like, okay, we're even positing that in order for this medicine, for example, to function, there cannot be a greater chance than X number that
I'm
it's going
not
to work.
talking, I'm
Whatever
not,
it's supposed
no,
to.
no, I'm not talking about, see, I don't know why you do this. This is the frustrating thing. There are theists who persistently try to argue that faith is merely confidence in the absence of certainty. And because we have an absence of certainty in every area of our lives, everything ultimately boils down to faith. That is the most dishonest and inaccurate attempt to defend religious faith that there could be.
Well,
Because
why is that dishonest?
my confidence that the sun will appear to rise tomorrow, and my confidence that a particular medication will work, is all a confidence that is directly proportional to the available evidence. This is a humism. The wise man proportions his confidence to the available evidence. There is no available evidence to which one could warrantedly hold a view of God and say, my faith that a God exists is proportional to the evidence. That is just absolutely not the case and ultimately dishonest. The God proposition and everything supernatural is beyond our ability to investigate or provide evidence for or falsify as far as we can tell. So this is what I mean about an equivocation fallacy. People want to say, hey, I take it on faith that God exists, just like you take it on faith that the drug you took will work. That is a lie. Those two things are not the same.
Well,
that is
yeah.
playing with words, because those are not equivalent.
Well, I would say that it's not. Okay, so I guess this is my personal view, but I don't think that it's necessarily, like, I think that there is some evidence in as much as far as we know,
You're
as far
wrong.
as we've become habituated to.
Yeah, well, this is it. This is where Christians and many theists will say, but there is evidence. You've got evidence that the sun is going to rise tomorrow, or very high level of confidence, and we've also got evidence, and we're going to hear it.
There's nothing that's been put into motion that hasn't been caused by something preceding it. That is something that is sort of customarily accepted.
No. This is good. Now we're at the second level of dishonesty, which is after I've pointed out the problem with how you're going to use faith. Now you move to a different argument and saying that we have no example of something that hasn't come into place without something preceding it. That is completely irrelevant, because you don't have an example of a universe coming into being. You don't have anything before then, outside of then. And even if you did, that is not a confirmation of any sort of God. So you've abandoned the faith thing and want to then say, there must have been something that started the universe, when you have no way to investigate any other universe, no way to investigate the beginning of this universe. And so you've abandoned your faith. You've abandoned the faith argument in order to try to prop it up with a claim that all the examples we have of things coming into being. You have zero examples of any universe coming into being. What you have in Big Bang cosmology, for example, is a universe expanding, not coming into being.
From a singular point, which is an especially important caveat to include. But I would say
that you have no example of that coming into being, do you?
Well, one, not per se, but what I'm trying to say.
No, not per se. Why is it you can't answer the question honestly? Do you have any example of any universe coming into being?
Of course not.
You don't. And so a minute ago, your argument that you tried to present was that everything that we see that comes into being has some sort of cause, but that doesn't apply to the universe by your own admission. So you presented.
Sure. Look, if I could finish.
You know what?
It's not something.
You know what? Maybe you shouldn't be allowed to finish, because you've interrupted me in mid-sentence now twice, and both times you've come back with something fallacious. So if you don't have an example of a universe coming into being, then wouldn't any argument about things coming into being be irrelevant to the universe?
I'm not sure if those are the correct terms to be looking at it. Like, I would say that.
This is the frustrating thing, is that you guys don't ever answer the question that you're asking.
He's just blocking a perfectly good point with something which is completely irrelevant.
Yes, I am, because it's my fucking show, and because you are not answering the question.
I'm just trying to regroup and gather my.
No, you're trying to you're trying to regroup and circle the wagons, because you've made a case that is fallacious, and when it's exposed, you want to dance on to something else. Here's the thing. If we have zero examples of a universe coming into being, then any argument about the universe that talks about other things coming into being by way of analogy is irrelevant, correct?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's irrelevant necessarily. How could anybody be sure to take the skeptical position?
It is. No. This is because you don't understand the basics of a logical argument. What I'm saying is, if you're going to put together a logical argument that is about things coming into being, and you have no way to demonstrate any universe ever coming into being, then that argument about things coming into being is absolutely irrelevant to the universe until you demonstrate that the universe came into being, correct?
Okay. I'm still not quite sure. But
well, then you go off and think about it, and when you figure out where the fallacy is, call back. Because I don't have time to waste on people who are like, oh, well, it's about faith, but I think faith is reasonable and I think faith is based on this. Oh, well, that's a problem. Oh, well, every example we have of something coming into being is it works this way. Well, you have no examples of a universe coming into being. You might as well say every example that we have of something being pooped out of an asshole came from someone eating food. That is as irrelevant to the origin of the universe, the poop argument, as your beginnings argument. Because if you can't demonstrate that the universe was pooped out of a butthole, then what? Then all your conversation about things that were pooped out of a butthole is irrelevant. And if you can't demonstrate the universe had a beginning, then all of your arguments about how something comes into being are irrelevant. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah. So just to sum up, obviously he went for the false equivocation there, and we've seen time and time again, we've seen literally, I don't know, hundreds of calls over the year where people saying, well, you know, you've got faith that when you sit in your chair, it's not going to collapse. And I've got faith in God. It's the same thing. We've seen that so many times. And it's surprising that people who are calling in, often claiming that they've been watching for years, are rehashing the same old fallacious arguments or false equivocations. And of course, he moved to causation, the law of causation. And even if we granted that, causation doesn't get you to a God. Let's say there could be a cause that isn't a God. So that doesn't really work. Matt didn't mention that. He went down another route, which is fair enough. And he obviously dealt with the point very thoroughly and sent him away. It was a sure sign when the caller said, I'm going to regroup. It's like, you know, he's endured this savage attack. He's had all his positions blown apart, and now he's desperately, as Matt would say, flailing around trying to get some kind of coherent point back on the rails. So no, another epic fail, and that's about it really. I know that we've seen videos like this time and time again before, and I've featured them, but still I get some amusement value out of them. And I do find it really funny that people just keep calling in with these same old points, but it would be nice to hear something new, wouldn't it? Okay, bye for now. Thanks for watching.